Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to objectively unpack a highly polarized broadcast from News 24 to really understand the competing viewpoints surrounding local policies, cultural identity, and integration. We're looking at a genuinely fascinating piece of media that actually starts off with international political trends before zooming right into a hyper-local community debate. So let's map out the arguments.
To set the stage here, the broadcast host begins by heavily criticizing progressive perspectives over in the U.S. They specifically highlight this mindset to illustrate what they view as a fundamentally flawed approach to law and order. The host references commentators in America who argue that stealing basic necessities, things like toothpaste and soap, are, quote, crimes of poverty. The News 24 host uses this phrase, "if you need it, you can steal it," to characterize what they see as an extreme leniency that's becoming totally normalized in certain political circles. Okay, here's our roadmap for today. 1. Critiques of progressive policies. 2. The Strathfield signage mandate. 3. Claims of systemic racism. And 4. The case for integration. Let's dive in. Section 1. Critiques of progressive policies. We're examining the baseline arguments here. The broadcast narrative kicks off by targeting what the host explicitly labels as extreme left-wing policies in America. They point right to places like LA and New York, claiming policies there allow people to steal up to $999 worth of goods with zero state compensation for the shop owners who lose their stock. The host highlights this specifically to frame a system that, in their view, essentially punishes small business owners while accommodating shoplifters. So the host compiles these U.S. grievances, everything from those shoplifting thresholds we just talked about to normalizing theft to even a politician in Wisconsin who supposedly proposed abolishing Thanksgiving over claims of racism. Now, compiling all of this serves a very specific rhetorical purpose. It paints a picture of a political ideology that the host believes is totally disconnected from reality, which they then use as a springboard to attack a local issue right back home. Moving on to Section 2, the Strathfield signage mandate, a local council debate. And this brings us to the actual core of the broadcast. It's a local proposal in Strathfield, Australia. The host pivots from overseas policies to what they see as the creeping influence of that exact same ideology right at home. The catalyst for all of this? A mandate requiring every single shop in the area to include English on their signage. It's reportedly even supported by mayors of neighboring councils. Now, according to the host, this mandate is just plain common sense. They argue that all 28 million Australians should be able to navigate their society and easily figure out what local shops are selling. The logic presented here is purely functional step by step. Step 1, recognize the national context. You're in Australia where English is the primary shared language. Step 2, prioritize navigation for the whole population. And Step 3, ensure commercial transparency. The host argues that simply wanting to know what a shop sells when you're walking down the street shouldn't be controversial. It should literally just be the standard. Section 3, claims of systemic racism. Let's look at the commissioner's perspective. But as you might expect, this proposal faced immediate and intense backlash. The broadcast directly quotes Australia's Race Discrimination Commissioner, who fiercely opposes the mandate and warns it could trigger similar moves by other councils. For the commissioner, this absolutely isn't about urban navigation. It's a matter of human rights, and they explicitly label the move as an example of systematic racism in operation. So the really crucial point here is how the commissioner actually defines this opposition. They argue that because language is a critical, fundamental part of a person's identity, forcing businesses to alter their signs is an act of diminishing minority cultures. This definition is vital to understanding the pushback. In this framework, racism isn't just about individual prejudice. It's about structural rules, like council mandates, that pressure minority groups to hide or dilute their natural tongues. For the commissioner, demanding English on a storefront isn't a convenience for shoppers. It's an institutional force demanding that business owners shed a piece of who they are.
Section 4. The case for integration. Here is the host's rebuttal.
The broadcast dedicates its final segment to completely rejecting the commissioner's framework. The host claims there's a sort of sleight of hand happening in the debate, emphasizing that mandating English does not mean banning a shop owner's natural tongue. Shops are entirely free to display both languages. They fiercely reject the idea that adding English diminishes anyone's identity, arguing instead that you can proudly display your native language as long as English is also there to serve the broader community.
This side-by-side comparison perfectly captures the dialectic at play here. It's a fundamental clash in values. On side A, the commissioner prioritizes the protection of cultural identity from top-down erasure. On side B, the host prioritizes the practical, unifying benefits of a shared language to prevent societal fragmentation. The source material essentially asks, Is the primary goal of public policy to fiercely protect individual cultural expression, or is it to establish a standardized baseline that guarantees universal civic interaction? The host wraps up their argument by asserting that a shared language isn't some racist weapon, but rather a vital tool to ensure citizens can interact, understand what's happening next door, and remain stronger together. They explicitly deny that this is about forcing white culture on people of color. Instead, they paint a picture of neighborhood cohesion. If you can't read the sign on the shop next to you, the host argues, you can't interact. If you can't interact, you just can't build a strong, unified community. To wrap up our explainer today, we want to leave you with this central provocative question. It sits right at the very heart of this public policy debate. As we've seen from the News 24 broadcast, the line between fostering community integration and protecting cultural identity is heavily, heavily contested. Whether you view it through the lens of practical navigation or systemic discrimination, the policies that shape our public spaces really do reveal our deepest values. Thank you so much for joining me to explore the mechanics of this complex issue. Keep questioning, keep learning, and we'll see you in the next explainer.